What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video we are going to be discussing the most underrated wins on every UFC champion's resume. That's right, every champion has a great list of wins, and they have those wins that sort of get skipped over or not as remembered. The wins that don't go straight to the top of your mind when you think of a win in the career of Merab Dvalishvili or Islam Makhachev. Those wins where you go, oh yeah, he beat O'Malley, oh yeah, he beat Charles Oliveira, Volkanovski, but then you forget those other wins, you know. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. The fighters that should be getting more credit as great wins on their resume, maybe wins that have aged really well. That's going to be the case for a few of these. We're not talking about women, because realistically, who cares? But yeah, starting off with the flyweight division, going all the way up to heavyweight, I will be talking about Aspinall, not Jones, because what am I going to be like? Oh yeah, Anthony Smith. It's a real underrated win. He's a crafty vet. Like, nah, fuck that. But anyway, let's start off with the flyweight division. And Alejandro Pantoja, I've got two for him. Every other champion, I've got one. I was able to sort of think of one win that stood above the rest. I've got two for Pantoja. The first is Manel Kape. And the decision win that he has over Manel Kape back in like 2021, or 2020, I should say maybe. That shit's crazy impressive. He beat Manel Kape standing. This is not Pantoja lay and pray. This was not he took him down and backpacked him the whole time or subbed him early and it was kind of a fluke. Like, no, he outstruck Manel Kape for 2 of 3 rounds and had a pretty competitive third round with him as well. Like, I know people say Manel Kape like beat Nicolau, that was a robbery. This one was not a robbery. This one was clear 2-1 Pantoja, no doubt about it. Arguably even 3-0, but I'd say 2-1. And a crazy impressive win to show, given how good Manel Kape has looked on the feet against some guys, how he looked amazing against Bruno Silva. For Pantoja to just outdo Kape, landing body kicks, kind of tuning him up on the feet. Not tuning him up, but like just shutting down Kape's striking game. And the only grappling exchanges were initiated by Manel Kape. So I think that's a pretty underrated win on the resume of Pantoja. We already know he's beat Moreno like 3 times, Royval twice. He beat Kai Kara-France back on tough. He beat Asakura, beat Urseg. He's beat all these guys, right? But I don't think enough people are talking about the Manel Kape win. The people talk about it, you know, when you go through the resume, everyone knows that he beat him. Everyone knows that he beat, like, Matt Schnell. And the next guy I'm going to talk about for Pantoja as well. But yeah, I just don't think this resume, or this win, gets enough importance on the resume of Pantoja. But the other one I was going to talk about is Alex Perez. His immediate, like, minute-and-a-half submission over Alex Perez is probably one of the most impressive performances I've seen in the flyweight division in terms of a pretty high level of competition. Like, Perez is a former title challenger. He fought Figgy. He lost, got subbed as well. But not like a complete bum. It's not like he's fucking subbed like Cody Durden or something. He went out there and just took the back of Alex Perez and just choked him out immediately, made him tap. Crazy impressive performance. I don't think enough, like, minute-and-a-half flat. You don't see that many really quick submissions at the top of the division, especially in the lower weight classes. But this was a crazy impressive performance from Pantoja as well. So those two, in my opinion, get the mention for Alejandro Pantoja as really impressive wins. Hopefully he beats... and Flyweight's looking good because either way, he's going to fight Kape and Royval are fighting. The winner of that's going to make his win over them age even better. Because if he beats... if Royval wins, he's got 2 wins over Royval. And Royval, since the second win, has gone on to beat Moreno, Tyra, and now he could beat Manel Kape. So the resume of Pantoja just continues to age even better. And if he beats Kape, that's a good win too. That just means it just shows how dominant he is for him to beat Moreno, beat the guy who then went on to beat Moreno, and then beat the guy who then went on to beat Royval. Like, that would be a crazy impressive resume for Pantoja, especially if he gets the win over Kai as well, assuming that fight happens. But anyway, let's move on though to the Bantamweight division. And for Merab Dvalishvili, I wouldn't say there's a lot of like really underrated wins on the resume, right? And I think everyone's pretty across the Merab resume. Everyone knows the Marais, the O'Malley, the Yarn, the Aldo Snooze Fest. Like, he's got some early ones, you know. But I'm not going to count them. I'm not going to count them, but I'm not going to include them. I'd say the one, even though it's more recent than most of his other wins, is Henry Cejudo. I don't think people give this enough credit to just put a pace on Cejudo and ragdoll an Olympic wrestler in the second and third round. Like, this was a crazy impressive performance from Merab. And I don't think it gets enough talk. People forget, man, Henry Cejudo, Triple C. He was a former double champion. Who does that to Henry Cejudo? Like, Aljo went to a close competitive 50-50, could have gone either way depending on how the judges decided to value the fight decision, right? And then obviously this went to a decision too because it's Merab. He's going to go to a decision. But this was not Cejudo coming off fucking 4 years off. This was Cejudo coming off a loss, motivated, looking to get back in. Then definitely not a prime Cejudo by any means, but still a very impressive win that should get more credit and something that should prove that Umar is not just going to be able to be as confident as he is with his defensive capabilities in the wrestling. Because, like, Cejudo, I'm sure, thought his takedown defense was pretty good. Didn't fucking help him from getting picked up and slammed on the ground in the second round. Like, Umar could be in for a rough night if he's underestimating Merab's grappling that much and just thinks, like, oh, I've got credentials. Like, credentials don't mean shit against Merab. Anyway, though, let's move on, though, to the featherweight division. And Ilia Top-Toro. I'm going to say Yusuf Zalal is the most underrated win on his resume because he's beat Volk, he beat Holloway. No one's underrating those wins by any means. He beat Josh Emmett, which is a great win. I could have put that. That's probably second place. And Bryce Mitchell, which is a good win, but it's not like a crazy impressive, like, oh my god, Bryce Mitchell, the killer. Like, Bryce Mitchell's gone on to look mid and lose. But I would say Yusuf Zalal, if we're looking at the current featherweight division and how it's playing out, is probably the most underrated, and I would say even a better win than Bryce Mitchell at this stage, to be honest. Because Yusuf Zalal was on a bit of a mid-streak at that time. I think he might have got even cut after that fight, or maybe one other one. But since then, he's come back and won 3 fights in 2024, all by submission. Or all by finish, at least. I don't know, maybe one was a TKO. I think it was all submission. And he's now booked to fight Kelvin Kattar, and if he wins that fight, I think he'll be like ranked number 10 or something. So that would mean Ilya would have wins over Holloway, Volk. He would also have wins over Emmett, Mitchell, and Zalal. So he would have 5 top 10 probably, maybe top like 12 wins, which would be very impressive. So crazy. If Zalal loses to Kattar, probably not the best look. But still, right now, with how good Zalal's looking, the fact that Ilya beat him was pretty fucking impressive in his debut as well. And also Zalal, credit to him, because he took Ilya to the distance. Fuck, I can't speak. He took him to a decision, so that was very impressive from Yusuf Zalal as well. Anyway, though, let's move on, though, to the lightweight division. And Islam Makhachev, it's in the thumbnail. It's one of the more clear-cut ones, in my opinion. And that is, of course, his win over Dan Hooker. Not enough people talk about this. Like, I think I get it, because it was short notice. It was, like, some circumstances that definitely meant Hooker wasn't at his best. And we've seen Hooker look better in the wrestling and in the grappling in multiple other fights in his career. But I think that just shows how good Islam is. And it just shows how dominant Islam was in that fight. For him to just take down Hooker and sub him immediately. When we've seen Hooker go to war with Mateusz Gamrot. Like other fights that Hooker's fought grapplers and had success. And this one he had no success. He's got taken out and tapped immediately. Like everyone talks about the Oliveira win, the Volk 2 wins, the Poirier win. Even the Arman win in Arman's debut gets more credit as like a good win for Islam than the Dan Hooker win, even though it was Arman in his debut compared to Dan Hooker in the top 10 of the division. So I think not enough people are talking about the Dan Hooker win. It's a very impressive win. Hooker's not a bad defensive grappler. I think like that's why Hooker had a lot of success against Gamrot. His takedown defense is pretty good. Most of the guys who beat Hooker are better strikers than him, I'll say. Because like who have his losses been? Arnold Allen, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. Like, it's explosive guys, it's powerful strikers, it's quick strikers who are catching him on the feet. Not many guys are just running him over. Even Edson Barboza. Like, not many people are running over Dan Hooker in the grappling, and Islam did that. So I think that's very impressive and deserves more of a mention. Anyway, though, let's move on to the welterweight division. And I'm going to say the win over Sean Brady is Bilal's most impressive win. I think, period. Like, I think regardless of, like, underrated anything, I'm just going to say that's his most impressive win. Because Sean Brady has gone on to sub Kelvin Gastelum in a dominant performance and then gone on to 50-45 Gilbert Burns. So, the win has aged very well. And now Brady's going to fight, who knows, maybe Leon, maybe JDM, maybe one of these guys, Buckley, I don't know. But he's going to go on to fight one of these guys, and if he wins, that's going to make it age even better. Like, if Bilal ends up in a position where he either rematches Brady or, you know, maybe he loses the belt, but Brady goes on to fight for the belt against someone else, that'll just show the fact that Bilal somehow finished this dude. Bilal getting a finish. Like, I had to put it on here for that reason alone. Your man Balal, like too many decisions coming out Balal fella here. And he managed to finish and stop Sean Brady with strikes. Not even like a injury or anything. Like, just stopped him with strikes, flat out. Beat him in the striking, the grappling, and the rest. Like, Balal, crazy work. So, fair play. That win has aged very well. Like, Luque, these guys, he's fought Burns. Like, there's some good wins on the Wonder Boy. But I think, yeah, definitely in terms of what's aged the best, I do believe that the win over, who did I just say? Sean Brady is very impressive. Anyway, let's move on to the middleweight division. And this one I struggled with because Dricus has some great wins, right? He's got the Brunson win. He's got the Till win. He's got the Tavares win, I guess, if you want to count that. He's got the Strickland win. He's got the Whitaker win. He's got the Izzy win. Like, those are his great wins. Like, a very, very good resume. But I was like, kind of like, which one is underrated? Like, which one's impressive and not talked about? Like, I was going to be like, oh, Brunson. But the Brunson fight was shit. Like, it was fun, but it was, like, shit quality. He looked awful. The Till fight, if he'd stopped Till in round 1, I'd probably put it on the list. Like, when he was hammering Till with those fucking shots in the clinch, if that had ended up leading to a finish, that probably would have been one of his better performances. But Till went on to have a lot of success and ended up losing. So I'm going to say, even though people talk about it, I'm not going to act like, oh, no one even knows this fight happens. Like, people know it happened, but it still doesn't quite get enough credit, in my opinion. And that's his finish over Robert Whitaker. Like, I'm not going to put the Izzy win, because that just happened. But, like, the Whitaker win. People forget, man. Like, he stopped Whitaker after winning the first. This was not a fluke, come from behind, out of nowhere, Hail Mary shot. Like, he dominated Whitaker at the end of the first, in the grappling, got on top of him, beat him up, and then ended up finishing him on the feet pretty early into round 2. Like, Whitaker was looking good, Whitaker was looking quicker. But, like, you can't take anything from that. Like, Dricus looks slower and worse on the feet than, like, all of his opponents until he randomly wins. But no, this was a crazy impressive win, and it deserves, like, Whitaker's top 5, top 4 even, greatest middleweights of all time, behind Anderson, behind Izzy, behind, like, who else is he behind? Fucking Weidman or something? Like, I don't know. Rockhold? Like, Romero? Whitaker's up there. Like, he's literally top 5 middleweights of all time. Despite really not holding the belt. Like, he won it, but he didn't really, like, defend it or get a title reign going. But still, crazy impressive win from Dricus. Anyway, let's move on, though, to the light heavyweight division. And Alex Poitin Pereira, it's also in the thumbnail. I'm going to say his win over Jan Blachowicz. This is not like a finish that everyone forgets about. Like, this was a decision, flat out. But I think that's the reason. Because everyone's so used to just highlights, and the highlight reel of Pereira, because this man fucking clip farms for days. The highlight reel is just him KOing Jamal, him KOing Yuri in the rematch. I would say another one is people forget about the first Yuri fight, just because Evan goes straight to the second. Because the first one was a bit of a worse stoppage, like a bit of a questionable stoppage compared to the second one. So I think Evan kind of just was like, oh, we don't even need to consider that. But it's the Hill fight, it's the Yuri rematch. It's the Khalil fight, it's the Strickland fight, it's the Izzy first fight. But because it was a decision, no one talks about the Blachowicz fight. And I think that is his best win. Like, apart from Izzy, that is his most impressive win, name value-wise. Significance, like, champion. Strickland's a good win. I could say Strickland, but everyone knows that fight. Like, people credit him for that. Everyone's like, oh, crazy how he beat Strickland, who then went on to win the belt. Like, not enough people talk about him beating a former champion, Jan Blachowicz, coming off a draw against Magomed Ankalaev. And everyone who says robbery, you cannot act like that was like an egregious fight to give the first 3 rounds to Jan and the 4th and 5th to Ankalaev with a 10-8 and the 5th for Ankalaev. Like, a draw is not a crazy scorecard. It wouldn't ever, like, I agree the 5th was a 10-8, but, like, we've seen more dominant rounds not get 10-8. So all I'm going to say is, sometimes you're fucking lucky that, like, that wasn't a 10-8 and Jan just flat out won. Because I gave him the first 3. I think his work on the feet was better than Ankalaev's push kicks. He was chewing up his legs. He was fucking had Ankalaev doing the Irish jig. Doing some fucking hop, skip, jump. Like, I don't know what Ankalaev was doing in that fight for the first 3 rounds. But the fact that he had to then resort to panic wrestling in the 4th and 5th and just laying on Blachowicz shows how elite Blachowicz is on the feet. And then to fast forward to the Pereira fight, to where Blachowicz is shooting for the legs inside 20 seconds and then looking gassed in the second, getting beaten up in the second round, having a close third, losing that. Despite it being a competitive fight, I think it was clear 2-1 Pereira with the second and third, and I think it just shows how impressive he is at striking, that people say, oh, he looked mid against Khalil. But we're going to forget about Blachowicz, who is one of the best strikers in the upper weight classes history. That's not even an exaggeration. Like, light heavyweight to heavyweight, like, or even middleweight and above, Blachowicz is a top 15, top 10 striker of all time in those. Actually, maybe that's, I don't know. Don't take that out of context, say that's an awful take. I'm probably missing a bunch of people. But like top 20, for sure. Like, Blachowicz's striking is crazy good. He outstruck Izzy. So yeah, the fact that Pereira had him shooting for the legs and looking pretty mid on the feet was very impressive and doesn't get enough credit. But anyway, let's move on to the heavyweight division. Someone's going to take that out of context, be like, what do you mean, man? How could you say Blachowicz? Like, I don't know. It's just you know when you just say shit because you're like flowing with your words and you'll be like, oh, I'll just chuck a take out there. That's probably not that crazy, but some nerds will fucking go back and be like, but you forgot about fucking this number 6 ranked fucking light heavyweight in 2002. Like, shut up. Any fighter before 2005, even 2000, any fighter before 2010, I'm gonna just say, Jan Blachowicz is a fucking 10-time champion in any era before 2010. That's a fact. Anyway, cry about it if you think that's wrong. You're just a fucking old head that can't accept that fighters used to suck back then. But regardless, let's move on. Heavyweight division, Tom Aspinall. I'm not talking about Jones because, yeah, okay, again, he beat he beat Anthony Smith. That's a bad man. He beat OSP. OSP's a vet. Gotta respect OSP. But no, Tom Aspinall, his most underrated win, in my opinion, is the submission over Alexander Volkov, that he got in round 1. Finishing Volkov in round 1 is crazy work. Like, I'm gonna pull up Jamie, pull that up. I'm pulling out my phone right now. Let me look up Alexander Volkov's resume. Has this dude ever been stopped in the first? Because I swear that's a crazy impressive win. Like, Lewis come back from behind, finished him in the 3rd round. But like, unless I'm just forgetting, you guys are going to call me a casual if there's some obvious fight that I missed. But like, recently even, like just prime Volkov. Who does that to Volkov? Alright? Volkov's 36 now, right? This fight happened, he was, how old was he? He was like 33. But his losses are a robbery to Gane, the loss to Aspinall, the previous decision to Gane, decision to Blades. He got finished by Lewis in the 3rd. Decisions, losses here. TKO'd in Bellator by Vitaly Minakov in 2013 when he was fucking 24. So yeah, in terms of recent last 10 years, nobody does that to Alexander Volkov. He ran him over, rugby tackled him, and straight armbarred him, which if you don't do jiu-jitsu, that is fucking impressive to do to a heavyweight-sized human. Like, I know Aspinall's a bit more built than him, a bit more bulky, a bit stronger, but still, like, if you do jiu-jitsu, that's a submission that you get when you're bullying a fucking zero-stripe white belt who's spazzing out in the gym. So you just, like, get him with the fucking most obnoxious, disrespectful submissions that are like, I don't respect your skill. Because I'm just going to use a fully strength-based submission that isn't technical, that you should be able to get out of if you have any skill. And that's when you get that. But no, he just gets it on Volkov in the 1st round. Just gets him down, just like just fucking straight armbars him, finishes him. Crazy. Like, it's not like it was a Kimura like with Islam. You can't stop Kimuras. Straight armbar is not a submission that you should be getting got with. And he got him with it. Like, that's not a knock on Volkov. That's just Aspinall being crazy good. So yeah, that's my pick for heavyweight. But yeah, you guys let me know in the comments, which champions wins do you think I'm forgetting? There's probably a few. You know, that's the point of the video, is you guys going to be like, how'd you forget this guy? And I'm going to be like, exactly right. That's good. I'm not even going to be like, oh, shut up. No, that's good. That's what we want. We want these underrated wins that we can bring up and really get some significance out of in terms of these GOAT discussions in the divisions. Like, when we're looking at arguing that Merab's potentially the Bantamweight GOAT, these are the wins we bring up. Cejudo, Aldo, Moraes, Jan, all these wins. So anyway, that'll do it, guys. I'll drop some more videos coming soon, but I'm going to bed now. Goodbye.